That's us live now.
Whoa.
Here we go. We might just be talking to ourselves to start with. That's cool.
Probably.
How's our volume sounding?
You're sounding fine.
And you can't hear yourself,
No,
right? But you're not too fussed about that.
not at all. Hold on, I'm just going to take my notifications off.
Right.
Do not
I have
disturb.
it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, do not disturb. I think there we go. We're fine. How are you?
I'm okay, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right now. It's taken us half an hour to sort out our. See, it's. You know what you said about let's not advertise this for 9 o'clock. It's a good job that we didn't because we've spent half an hour on the sound, haven't we?
Proper techie stuff, mate.
I know. Okay, let's make a start properly. We don't normally do these JFDI on a Sunday morning. Okay, because we're going to because we're going to pop this chat into the radio show. Well, that's certainly the plan. We'll kick off with a little bit of an explanation, I think, as to what we're actually doing here. People have seen us sitting here before, having a chat in various guises, but I think timing is everything in terms of what we're going to chat about today. A little bit of JFDI and coffee, but first of all, let's set the scene. So, for anybody watching, feel free in the same manner to drop a comment and say hello if anything's interesting you or not, as the case may be, and we'll see where we go. We'll see where we go from there. So, So first of all, we'd better say Happy Mother's Day because
Happy Mother's Day.
Sunday the 19th of March this morning, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Big up all the mums.
Absolutely, including my own, who won't be watching
And
this,
mine.
but and yours, yeah. So, happy Mother's Day, that's done, that's out the way. Next thing, just personally, I wanted to say a little bit of a thank you to the responses from the video that I did the other day. It's the first live video I've done in quite a while. I've been doing the radio show, but as many people have said to me over the last few months, you've got a face for the radio at the moment, Richardson. And we might come on to my face actually later on this morning. But for now, I just wanted to say thank you to those that had responded on the video, that had reached out to me personally and dropped me a message, said I looked tired, who just well-wishing. It was absolutely lovely to see. And in actual fact, a little bit of what I'd mentioned on the video, some of which Ali and I had already had a chat, and we were going to do this video. We were going to do this morning sort of coffee catch up, and we had agreed to do it a little while ago. So the video and this link are not coincidental. Not, I guess it is coincidental. It's not planned this way. We had just spoken earlier on in the month, and we had agreed that we would do something like this. So we'll come on to tell you what we were going to chat about, but. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to do. But Ali, did you want to say something before we kick off as well?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I sent out one of my APBs on my Facebook profile the other day about how things are changing, and showing thanks and gratitude for everyone that has kind of been part of the thing. I'm not trying to come on and promote stuff. It's more a kind of personal thing this time. And just to say thank you to everyone that left words of encouragement, because I'm now kind of things are changing. A period that I've done something more or less full time. The reality is that's not going to be happening, and it's kind of like just closing it off at a particular point, and just being reflective and appreciating what that period of time has been about and the people that have been involved. And and some of it's for my own kind of well-being as well.
Yeah.
Squaring it off, I think.
It sounds like what we're both saying there is a big thank you. A big thank you, not just in terms of people that have reached out recently, but people that have been part of this journey. And you didn't mention Law 55, and I guess I'll just to kind of reiterate for people watching, for people listening, this isn't about Ali coming on to promote Law 55, his clothing brand. It's not about me coming on to talk about Wim Hof, cold workshops or force forward. It's part to talk about that journey. Because we kicked this journey off together, really.
We did.
With I remember the first article that I wrote, which must have been in 2018.
Mr.
And it was
blog
on the blog, on mrpinkster.co.uk. It's still on there, actually. It would be. In fact, I might just need to go and give it a read. But I think that's what we wanted to chat about this morning. Is that I think for the last 5 years we've had an ever growing community of people around us, supporting us, encouraging us in terms of what we've been doing, our openness and transparency online, and what people have seen, that sort of public facing persona of the things that we've been doing. There's been a very a very visible profile. But I think what we had spoken about and what would be probably a good place to start is the things that nobody saw. Those are I think we wanted to just kind of cover a few of the things that that nobody sees on the front end of this, when we're promoting our wares, when we are encouraging others, when we're chatting live. It's about, I guess, the things that got us from A to B, if you consider A 5 years ago and B where we're at now. But I guess some of the things that are less likely for people to see on the surface. And I guess it all comes back to that hashtag that we've started talking about so long ago and continue to put. It's that kind of JFDI. I guess that embodiment, if you will. So let me throw this one to you, Ali, as like an opening gambit from this. Where do you think, or how would you explain where the JFDI attitude towards what we're doing has kind of had to continue to play a part? So people see one thing happening, but obviously there's a lot of things that have to happen in the background for this to, come to fruition. What importance has that sort of approach? What does that mean to you? That JFDI that we talk about?
It's certainly opened doors for me with personal growth. And I think I could go into many different kind of different skill sets, attitudes that and thoughts, positive ones, that I've developed. But the thing is, it's at the 2018, it was a leap of faith. and it was all very much everything being made up, and it still is, with no formal training or background in anything, just being normal, just going through life like everyone else does. But
Yeah.
getting to this point 5 years later down the line and being reflective, it's like, wow, I would never have thought that I was capable or there would be any engagement in anything that I did like that.
Yeah.
And things have opened up. Um, and I think for me personally, it's, if I hadn't have gone on that journey with you, I'd look to where I am now and I would go, do you know what, I failed, but I haven't. It's like my friend Tim Whittington said the other day, it's just the same but different. And it's like, yeah, it is the same. It's everything continues, just differently. So it's not an end, but if I was in the same mindset that I was 5 years ago, and I was doing what I have been doing, I would see it as complete failure. But I don't see that now. I look for the positives that the whole 5 years has provided me, and I celebrate that. And that then gives me the kind of energy to carry on and do different things or the same things in a different way. And that's all it is, to be fair. Yeah.
So you talked about that. You talked about taking the leap of faith. Now, obviously, the leap of faith, and
Can I just
again,
stop you? Your mic has gone crackly again.
has it?
Yeah, big time.
Okay, hold on. I'm not going to spend. I'm going to just work through it. How's that now?
Not good.
I can't hear a thing. We've got
There's a nice bit
okay.
of
Listen. We've got 7 people listening. I don't know whether we've got 7 people listening. People that are listening, tell me if you can hear me. Okay, if you can hear me, okay. I'm just gonna carry on.
Let's persevere.
Yeah. Okay. So you talked about that leap of faith and how your mindset has changed. Okay, Pete said we're all good. Thank you, Pete. Nice one. Haley can hear us both as well. Hello, Haley.
I can't even hear you properly now.
All right. Well, it doesn't matter as long as people can hear us both.
Everything's
that's fine.
echoing.
Yeah, it's all good. Pete, Mr. Tuckerman's on. Haley is listening, and Mr. Blades is listening as well. So, morning all. Mr. Blades, are you still in Belfast? Hope you had a great day yesterday. Okay, right. Listen, back to your leap of faith, and yeah, still in Belfast. Yeah, good. How would you say in that 5 years your mindset has changed then, based on the person that took that leap of faith, and what has changed in that time about how you've had to approach things?
I still have periods of self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
They are not as long as what they are.
Yeah.
And there's always the opportunity to reflect and go back and pull out a positive or positives. That's my mindset. That's changed. And I suppose what that means is I'm now more confident I can turn my hand to anything. A lot more confidence.
Right, okay, so a lot of like reframing then, I guess, in that time. Taking some of the things which would on the surface have appeared to be not so positive, but actually try and turn it into...
Yeah. The mic's still terrible at your end. Well, what happened? It was really good, and then it changed all of a sudden.
I don't know. I've not changed anything, mate.
No, maybe it's mine.
I think you need to. I think everybody can hear us, so I think that you need to let it go. Talk to us about letting go.
All right, yeah. If I'm going to let go, I've got. Oh, let go. Yeah, yeah. It's just healthy to let go. Don't put what you want onto other people. It's not fair. It doesn't do anyone any good.
Yeah.
You're much better now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's lovely. You're lovely again. Um, yeah, it's just a really healthy thing to be able to do. Now, I know it's not easy because some people can't let go, and it's for whatever reason, and
Yeah.
that's their thing, which they have to work with if they want to
Yeah.
let go. But it's some scenarios. The biggest one is letting go of the fact that I was self-employed primarily. And one of the things that I value is my own autonomy.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I found out through this process. I love that. It's like, do you know what? Okay, just let go of that. It's fine. It's good. I've got all these great things that have happened, and probably more things will happen again. Um,
Yeah.
but actually, yeah, go into a 9 to 5 job. Do that. Yeah, that's fine. Just let go. Um, it does take a while. I remember last year I started cleaning um, in a hotel, and there was literally about 4 months prior to that where I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to get up, go to work, and my time's not my own. Well, I crossed that bridge. I was like, brilliant, fantastic. I can now incorporate that in what I do. Um, and then the next one was working up at the hospital, cleaning the hospital, because I'd let go and I'd clean the hotel. And I was like, right, I can go and clean the hospital now. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Um, and
What
now
did you have to? What was it you had to let go of?
the 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 experience that I got working for myself, and that
Okay.
was it. Yeah, yeah, I could go. Yeah, I could go at my own pace, which was always quite fast anyway. But it was like, it's my successes, my failures, and I'm accountable for that. Um, and that's what I
Okay.
really enjoy. Um, but now it's like, well, I'm now accountable to somebody else within the
Yeah.
professional space, not just me or my family, Nick. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, so I had to let go of of enjoying that and go right. I've got to be accountable again now to others, and yeah, I'm there.
I,
It's fine.
what what else? I'm thinking that, so there's a couple of things I think that have been important for me to let go, and again, it might be where we are slightly different. I think that what we do, although we've both 5 years ago kind of, uh, I would say, like, put our heads above the parapet, put ourselves
Mm,
out there.
mm,
And whilst what we're doing is very different, one of the big things for me to let go of, and this has been, I think, a massive one for me, is the perception, other people's perception. Let go of the need, because part of, I think, what I was doing started off with this need for validation from others.
yeah, yes,
Uh,
yeah,
and has that played a part for you?
yeah, massive as well. Same as you. I think because we're creative, but in different ways.
Yeah.
Validation presents itself in different ways. But I think, if you ask any creative person, what is the main thing that they get from their creative stuff that they put out there above the parapet? One of them would be validation from others. Um,
Mm.
so, how does your validation look for you from others? And how do you let go of that? What does that present itself like?
Um, so I think if you look at, I guess I'll use a few things as examples. We're sort of 2 years down the line from, we're 2 years down the line from in fact, 3 years down the line from when I released my book. So when my book came out, there was I think there was that it's just a good example of where I was always kind of searching to hear what people thought. What are the reviews? What do people think of this?
Yeah,
I guess it's a bit. For me, I looked at it more as feedback. I wanted to kind of hear what people thought. but ultimately, I think it doesn't really, and I've kind of had to work through this in the last, even probably in the last 6 months. What I've realised now, and I will do a sequel to that book, but
Yeah,
whether or not that sequel, whether or not that book sold one copy, 500 copies, 100,000 copies. Actually, what I've realised is that I was only ever doing that book for myself. I was only ever writing that for me, and if what I had written resonated with anybody, then that's a bonus. And I
yeah,
think that kind of helps in terms of letting go. Don't get me wrong. I think because I do the kind of thing that I do, there's always going to be a little bit of ego, but I think understanding that and knowing that about a lot of what drives us in life is all down to ego.
yeah,
But actually being able to step back from that and just sort of say, well, at the end of the day, we've often spoken about the destination isn't what this is all about for us. It's about the journey. It's about what we learn. It's about what we experience, and what we can take forward as what we might have previously perceived as failure, and look to how we can use that in our endeavours moving forward. And I think what I know now is that actually what I write, what I create, it's more about getting out what might be in here and helping, because stuff stored up is not good. And I think that's a lot of about the creative process for me now, is just getting things out, and whether it comes out and it sits on a bit of paper, or whether or not it comes out and and it's a bit of spoken word, or it's a radio show with a little actually it's cathartic. And so whenever I get something out, write it down in some way, shape or form, there's a little bit of letting go every day. I don't know whether or not that makes sense, and it's
no, it
and
makes
there are
perfect
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, there's other ways that I can kind of do that, but I think ultimately, yeah, the reason for my silence over the last 4 months, a lot of what I was dealing with was actually letting go of stuff that I hadn't realised was kind of quite deep rooted. And I think
yeah,
getting to 51 and realising that there's stuff that resides inside you that is actually not healthy for you.
yeah,
It's like, well, if you're not going to let go of it now, when on earth are you going to let go of it? And I think
absolutely.
that, it's like
Yeah,
stuff stored up's not good. Stuff needs to come out, for good or bad. And that's not always pretty.
no, it's not. I think I'm going to go back to something you said about ego, and we we talked about um, this and Stephen Bartlett, the
Yeah,
Dragon's Den guy. Yeah, I don't, you know, subscribe to all these kind of business coaches and any of that kind of stuff. But I was interested in him, and something came up on my Facebook. It was 30 seconds where he was having a chat with a young lady who was obviously being mentored by him, and he was mentioning ego and to overcome that, just take the shot. And for me, that reminded me very much of JFDI. Just take the shot, because the thing is, we don't take the shot because the ego gets in the way, um, and
yeah,
you know, then you don't kind of realize and experience things that you would never have thought would be possible, regardless if they're the outcome that you're after or not. And I suppose we'll talk about these sort of things that have happened to you and I, and also together as part of what we've done together over the last 5 years. Is just taking the shot, and seeing what happens. Because the worst that can happen is you fail, but you learn from it. And
yeah,
maybe that's what we're talking about in some respects on this chat today. It's the perceived failure, but how we flip that over and go, well, actually, it's not a failure. If you just look at all this other stuff that's happened that is positive, And once you start to do that, that then gives you the energy and the positive mindset to go, let's keep going. Um, wherever that wherever that path is that you take, who knows?
Mm.
Yeah, that's your choice. But actually, it's the mental attitude to keep you going.
Yeah. Yeah, so give me an example of somewhere in the last 5 years. Now we know that you've taken the shot in terms of going out there and launching this thing that you've been doing. But give me an example of somewhere maybe in the middle, somewhere in the early days of the journey where there's because I guess we've not heard that word procrastination, but I guess what we're talking about when we talk about take the shot and JFDI, it's a moment where we can be very clear that in the past we might have kind of overthought something, we might have sat on something, we might have had waited, and in actual fact, by the time we have been ready to commit, the time has passed, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Is that the what we really mean by that, taking the shot? It's like it's at that time. It's like at the time when the idea presents itself, when the environment, the landscape, the community around you has almost aligned. It's like that. It's waiting beyond the point of right. It's now. Nothing's going to be the same. That's kind of what we're saying. Is that, and you might just miss that shot by overthinking something. So is that is there something in terms of what you were doing maybe a year in, or what changed it, or what?
The the opportunity presented itself.
Yeah,
It was like a fork in the road, and I took a particular direction, and that was to leave the corporate world to give this world a go that
yeah,
that I've been doing for 5 years. Um, I was being told that you should try it,
yeah,
and for me, it's, am I good enough? Um, would it be a success? How would I make it happen? But the
yeah,
opportunity presented it to itself, and I firmly believe that people get opportunities all the time. They're like forks in the road, and you have a choice. Which
yeah,
way do you want to go? Do you want to go left? Do you want to go right? Whatever way you go, just as long as you realise that there's an opportunity there, be aware that you've got that opportunity to make a choice. And I took a particular choice to come out of corporate world
yeah,
into self-employed world, and that was the right choice to make.
yeah.
So that was it, and that was about 2020, I think. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
just before
So
lockdown kind of time.
yeah.
What
Okay.
about you?
So for me, I think that big one was probably 2018. And I think this ties in because I think when we think of some of the early discussions that we had in and around what you were experiencing in that corporate world, and some of the I guess underlying reasons how you were feeling at the time, where you were headspace wise, kind of transpired that I had literally been through that probably within about 18 months of the time that you were in that position. So 2018 for me, I was in a job which I had really loved up until about a year before that, and it had kind of consumed me to the point that I had allowed it to. It was I wasn't feeling that I was adding anything to the role anymore. It had changed. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but at the end of the day, I kind of felt that that was a low point for me. It was a low point, but then followed my decision to leave that job and to kind of venture into the contracting world.
Mm.
So that was 2018, and I look back and I think, do you know, whilst I had 11 good years in that job and met so many amazing people, but it was the right time, it was the right place, and I look at what, if I look back now on what's happened within that 5 years, none of that might have happened, and things might have been very different if I'd have stayed in that
Yeah.
job, which was yeah, it was it was eating me up. It was eating me up, and I was already 6 months beyond the point of like being burnt out. I was rapidly declining into a very, very dark place. So
Mm.
yeah, 2018 was kind of what started all of that.
Yeah, you had your fork in the road and you took the shot.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I kind of I had to, and if I look back on it now, I think it's the best thing that I ever did.
there you go. So
Um,
the reflection, you're looking back and you're able to pull things out that gone, do you know what? That was the best decision that I've made, or one of the
yeah.
best decisions. It was the right decision at the time to make that, and you can now reflect because you could be still there.
Well, and I kind of wonder about that. I kind of wonder that I don't think that I would still be there because I'm not sure I'd still be here. I think that's how serious things had
Yeah,
got.
yeah.
Was
Well
that me
done.
leaving? Yeah, me leaving was kind of almost like a last ditch. And I know that our discussions earlier, you were in a very similar place. It was like, you know, for me it was life saving actually
Yeah,
leaving because it had it had taken every a boss of mine at the time. She used to kind of describe it of those when you kind of almost like there was like nothing left. It was like a kind of a shell. She'd say to me, you seem to have lost your mojo, and it was more than that. It was like that sort of the energy's gone, the drive has gone, the passion for life and the job has gone. It was that it was a job where I loved doing that job to start with, and had some of the highest like people engagement scores that the company had ever seen. And then, as life does, in one move, it was that one move which took me down an avenue that I don't choose. It's why I'm doing what I do now, and it's an avenue. Everybody's had a job where they've ended up with the wrong boss, or it's just not worked out for them. And I think what I learned out of that is that when you spot that, don't be like I was and end up down a rabbit hole. Identify that and make a move. It's the one thing that I learned from that is don't linger, don't hold on to what you might on the surface be kind of perceiving as like self-respect, or oh well, I have to fight this through, I have to see it out. It's like if something's not working for you, be that a job, be that something, and like don't allow it to consume you. Identify it, ask somebody for help, even, or speak to somebody, but don't hold on for too long because it was almost the end of me. It really, really was.
yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah.
Um, so
Well done, you. Well done,
well,
brother.
yeah, and but I mean, exactly the same goes for you, and it's but what it does, I kind of thought at that time I'm going to become a contractor, so I'll be working, and I won't need to get involved with some of the politics and stuff like that. However, that kind of world comes with its own challenges when you are truly working there for yourself. It comes with a whole raft of challenges and of its own. And whilst it might be quite liberating, I think that we would both agree that what we did was quite liberating to kind of step away from that corporate world. But at the same time, when you are solely on point to pay the bills, when you are the the sole driving force behind your own development and your own growth, then you need to kind of take a slightly different view on things, because you are 100% responsible and accountable. And I guess that's a good place to sort of go in that direction and ask you that question, because I think I guess what I saw a lot of, and we still see a lot of in the world, is a lot of blame, a lot of finger pointing, and I think it's one of the stalwarts, if you will, one of the big areas of JFDI that it's one of the undercurrents there. It's like, do you know what? That JFDI isn't just a case of seeing an opportunity and going for it and not procrastinating. It's actually understanding that when you put your head up above the parapet and you put yourself out there, it's like whatever you choose to do, you're the man, and for better, for worse. And what some people have seen in this journey is, from you, lots of t-shirts, lots of hoodies and lots of successful kind of launches of clothing. For me, some positive inspiration, hopefully a podcast, a radio show, a book, a coaching initiative aimed at sort of helping and supporting ex-forces and kind of beyond that. A lot of chat about mindset, and people see those positive engagements, but what they maybe don't see is the flip side of that, which is kind of where we started with that. And ultimately, when you are 100% responsible and accountable for the things that we put out there, there are so many things that are not out there that we have to deal with as a result of us putting ourselves out there. And that's not always pretty, right? So in terms of that big step that you took, I'm pretty sure that as part of that journey, whilst empowering yourself and taking that step into the unknown, there's very quickly in that journey some stuff that's not pretty that you don't share. But I think that we were kind of maybe going to share some of that stuff today.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you some examples?
Yeah, please
do.
The
biggest one is time spent away from home at the weekend when Nick's off work. Absolutely. And because I think it happened earlier on last year, midpoint. It was like, I need to kind of rethink this because I'm married, and that's the most important thing. So when you're putting 100% into what you're doing, you can get quite blinkered. And I was spending a lot of time away from home at the weekends trading. But we both thought that at the right time, and we fixed it. So, I pulled back on Sundays. So I was doing Friday, Saturdays and Sundays. So I pulled back on Sundays. But also found out how the model would work. So it's quite seasonal. So for the last 3 months, not really been out doing much. And been able to spend time at home a bit more. So I'm going to be going away with work, probably, other work. And then maybe definitely doing like a Saturday. But I need to be very, very mindful about the impact that it has on married life as well.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing. The constant looking at, peaks and troughs in trading performance and what that actually means. Hence why I'm going into 9 to 5 work. It's like, I can't put that financial burden on my wife. I definitely don't want to put it on myself. And it's tough. That's the thing. What people see, they see all the bells and whistles stuff, but behind the scenes, it's like projections, what ifs. But then it's that JFDI call to arms: take the shot, do what you need to do. Don't hold on to your ego. Do the right thing. So that's a big one. I think sometimes, from a trading perspective, you go out and put yourself out there and you put your best foot forward and you see, some engagement and some activity going on. You think, well, this could be all right. But actually, in reality, it doesn't live up to the kind of preamble. Just in the shoelace up. And you have to deal with disappointment as well. And it's the thing for me, that the way I look at it is, if I'm being proactive, that's how I deal with disappointment. If I'm just out there doing something and enjoying what I'm doing, I can manage that quite adequately. So the last 3 months, where it's the weather's been terrible, yeah, you've got the cost of living crisis going on. Um, it's that's been really difficult for me, because that's all impacted, um, what I do. But inside
Yeah,
as well, I've been very lucky because I've kind of flipped over from in person in real life onto the internet.
yeah,
And so thank you for everyone for that. That's amazing. But it's different, because
yeah.
being quite a social person, I like to get out there. Um, I like to be active. I like to look forward to taking everything out, setting it up. And for me, it's like fishing when I was a kid. You don't know what you're going to catch, but the fact is, you're going out and it's exciting. I've just been lucky that I've caught some fish, and it's kept me going for like nearly 3 years as my sole focus for a lot of the time. But that's come to an end now, and I'm at peace with that. What about you?
Um, it's an interesting one, I think, and it's where the difference in what we do on the surface looks kind of vast, but underlying it's really just the same thing. Dealing with I guess that what we would call like the rejection or disappointment. Um, for me, I think there's oh this is I guess in terms of let's use force forward as an example. Um, I put and invested a lot of my time, a lot of energy and effort into kind of creating a program to help uh, people be, I guess, just happier is probably the best way to put it. Um, but I think, and it'll all boil down to ego again. I had I think I had perhaps set an expectation in my mind to be able to reach a number of people, and it didn't quite. It's not kind of quite worked out that way. I know that there have been people helped. However, I think that the thing for me was, I and again, I bring this back to me, and I look at it and I say, well, perhaps I didn't do what was required to maximize the potential. Um, but still, at the same time, when you, I guess the timing is everything as well. Because whilst I might have been on, we'd both been on this journey. The other thing that I'm very, very aware of, and this is, I guess, maybe one of the main reasons that I found the timing right to do the video I did the other day, is that um, whilst engagement with people is great, and I love kind of speaking to people, as you've said, I love catching up with people face to face. That community aspect of in person is always going to be better. But when that's not possible, online is a distant second best, but it's still better than nothing. Um, and I guess what I would say is that having put myself out there, I felt that perhaps the time was right to just give a brief explanation as to where I've been. Because when people kind of come to expect to see you, but I think that there is this aspect of life where we think that we think that people care more than they do, and let me elaborate on that. This is the ego again, and it's maybe one of the things that I think I've been able to do in terms of letting go of that need for validation. Is that a lot of why I think I do what I do now is because of the messages that I have had along the line saying, do you know what? Whether it be a message as part of a Force Forward post, or whether it has been a reunion that's been, whether it's been a podcast that's somebody's come on and a story has resonated, putting yourself out there in the way that I think that we have, is that I've learned that just one video at one point in time might be enough just to touch one person's life and make them think about something slightly differently. And if what we do from a community perspective can help just one person, then I'll continue to do it. Now, obviously, I think that in looking at the future, um, the I guess the drive or the mission, if you will, the purpose of anyone in setting about how they help other people, they want to kind of try and maximise that. So things might be slightly different moving forward, but I think in terms of in terms of that kind of letting go, in terms of just doing what we do, it is that JFDI. I think if I have to overthink something, it's like I was saying earlier on. I sat down yesterday and I thought, maybe I should write down. I've got a number of things to write down here. I think I should probably cover that. I think we should probably cover that. If I have to refer to a bit of paper in terms of what's important, then how authentic is that really? You
Can
know,
you read that?
I can't. You'll have to read it out for me. What does it say?
So Nick's in the kitchen behind me, and she's obviously hearing a lot of this. And she said, "Tell Graham his Wim Hof is an evolution of Force Forward. It is not the end. It is a new beginning."
Yeah, it is, and it's somebody, another very good friend of mine. One of the people that I'm in, like a very small accountability group, and this is important for me. People that are, so there's friends, right? There's people in this world we consider to be friends. I was having a very good chat with a very good friend of mine, Gordon Clark, about this the other day.
Yeah,
I caught up with him on Tuesday for a breakfast in Dishoom in Edinburgh. I haven't
very
seen
nice.
him. He only lives an hour away from me, and we haven't seen each other physically like since October, which for us is it's unheard of. And again, we could use all the stories under the sun, but at the end of the day, all the reason that didn't happen is that between the two of us, we've not prioritised our friendship. As harsh as that sounds, that's why we hadn't seen each other. But do you know what? We both resolved that we wouldn't leave it that long. But one of the conversations that I was having with somebody else had said to me exactly the same thing. They'd said, I always saw Force Forward as a step in a particular direction. And that's exactly what's happening. Force Forward is going to still be there. I may as well just, it's not a promotion. Things are going to change. What's going to happen in due course is that everything that I have kind of taught the people that have been through Force Forward, that all of those tools are going to be available online. And for anybody that wants to look at them, it's going to be there, available online for free. And for me, what that does is it allows me to put out there what I know has helped. Look, here's the thing. This week, I've been running, it's probably the last Force Forward Ground Zero, which is that a sort of 7 day sort of just improve your life in a number of different ways. What I know from the people that I've worked with there that have said they felt healthier, they felt happier by just implementing some of the things that I've pulled together. That for me is great, and knowing that it's there, but knowing that people can access it. The most important thing is that what we've done there is that the community aspect is much more important. You can't put a price on that. That's priceless. And that for me was what I always set out to do. It was about connecting people and reconnecting people, about empowering people, And where this goes now, I've kind of spoken. We'll be doing more in my direct community.
Yeah,
That's where I go next, which is natural because
yeah,
the Wim Hof instructor journey is to be most effective. That needs to take place in person, and I've loved that so much. I really,
look
really
at that.
have.
I love that.
Well, I mean, I
Love
have,
that.
and
Fire in
every
the
bit,
belly. Yeah,
yeah. Everyone,
awesome.
everyone that I speak to, everyone I speak to, they says when you talk about cold water therapy and when you talk about breath work, you have this,
Yeah,
there's an excitement there. Um,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
what? So here's my question back to you, right? Because this is important. This is really important. The reason that I speak so passionately about it is because I've realised the penny drop moments. It's like Force Forward has brought this all together. It's like what we've been doing. The platform that I've been given to be able to do the podcasts, the radio show. It's allowed to help me build a little bit of confidence, speak a little bit more confidently about the things that we're doing as well. But actually, I see the platform and I see the potential, and that gets me excited. At the potential to get in front of more people and to teach them what I've learned. That excites me, and more so when you then see people responding to that. That for me, that does it. That really does it. So tell me about now in 2023 the kind of things that really light you up as well,
Oh,
because 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 part of this whole journey, there's things that you've had to do as part of the Loft 55 journey that have possibly been less interesting and less glamorous than the more exciting things. So first of all, yeah, tell me about the things that really light you up, the things that really get you out of bed in the morning, the things that puts fire in your belly.
a lot of it hasn't changed.
Yeah,
So it's designing um, new new pieces.
yeah,
Um, what gets my what gets me fired up to go out and do stuff. So I think it's quite multi-layered. I think from a character perspective, it's working out problems, like problems about how do I keep it going. So as we know,
yeah,
I'm going back to a 9 to 5. That actually gets me very excited because I'm thinking on my feet and I'm using something that was installed by my father in me um, when I was in my early teens, right through to probably my late teens. It's about tenacity and resilience and keeping going. And I'm actually really excited that I can now reflect on what my dad helped me with because I used to be a swimmer. And anyone who does competitive swimming knows that's a 7 day a week thing. And my dad invested time in me to do that. Are you still there? Because you've gone quiet. There you are.
yeah.
You're there.
I needed to cough, so I
So
went on mute.
So that excites me. And anything that I do where I need to like grit my teeth a little bit and get stuck in, that I can
Mm.
now just think back to my dad basically, and that really excites me to make that link with my father. Um, I think other things as well. It's I'm coming round to my in-person trading season soon, and I'm doing different things in different. Well, I'm doing the same thing but in different places. That goes back to that fishing analogy I used. That's exciting because I just don't know what's going to happen, the performance, but I'm getting out there and I'm going to meet people. I'm going to, create hopefully, something. It's not just about selling stuff. It's actually creating a space where people can get an experience. So I'm back into that. Um, I'm working with, well, I say clients, but it's so we'll talk about the Camp Bliss thing that you and I are going to be part of in August. But I went round to see Anthony. and it was, sat down, have food, and just to be asked for my creative input. It is not the fact that I'm being asked for it; it's the fact that I'm having a creative input with something.
Yeah.
So I went round a couple of weeks ago. Kelly, his partner, invited me round, and it was like, we'd agreed that I'd be kind of leading up the traders kind of proposition there, liaison. But we then got talking about different aspects of the whole festival, and it's like, wow, and I don't expect any of these things to come to light that I presented. Just nice to be asked and like have a think.
Yeah.
And the Croatian thing's quite a good one for that as well. So I've got a client in Croatia, and that's quite exciting because that's the launch of her retail concept that she's hoping to move to Ibiza and back to Los Angeles in time. And just yesterday she was asking me, so what do you think of my logo and what colours and what fonts? How does it all work? And
so for those
so
that don't know, for those that don't know, talk a little bit about the Croatian thing, because this is fascinating in terms of kind of how it's come about and what is actually happening.
Very, very simply, my Croatian friend Vita, her friend came to see me when I was in my first 12 months trading full time, and she really enjoyed the experience and the message behind the clothing. And she was telling me for months, oh, you're going to meet my friend. She's launching a clothing shop. I was like, okay, that's cool. Nothing ever happened. And literally in December, her friend came over. We met up. We got on. And, we discussed remotely. I was in Dorset with Nick. So I was doing a digital nomad kind of piece of work, just mock up colours. And right, we got all of that sorted. And then... oh man, like literally the whole Brexit thing, what a nightmare. I've had to like learn how to do EOIN numbers, get on the government gateway, go into minute detail about the products that I'm sending over. But behind all of this, there's a connection there that she says she shares the same ideology that what this is all about. And it's about community and bringing people together and doing things differently within a retail space. So I've made a connection there on an international level. And in saying that, when we talked earlier about what people see on the surface, people probably think, oh, yeah, he's going to be all right. It's going international. No, we're not talking big numbers here. We're talking good numbers, but it's the start of a relationship, all being well. And then we've got the issue of we've done all the paperwork. It's ready to be sent to tomorrow morning from a workshop. Does it get there? Is it going to get returned? Yeah, but we'll deal with that if we have to. But yeah, so that's quite like to think that when we talk about 2018, and this is the thing about when you have to put a stop or a kind of a pause or look at things differently, you need to be able to reflect on 5 years ago. It was tote bags. Yeah. 5 years down the line, it's stuff getting shipped to Croatia for a new boutique that could actually expand around the world.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about taking the shot. Because
it is. Yeah.
2018, all right, I'm going to put anchors on stuff. And then I'm going to be doing in 2023, I'm going to be stocking a new boutique in Europe. Nah. Yeah. Come on. But because you take that shot, yeah, these things happen.
Yeah. I think one of the things
I'm trying to bring it back less about the clothing, but more into actually the mental space.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. I think one of the things here is that actually, would it be fair to say that actually taking that shot, it's not quite often about about the just that one opportunity. It's about the consistency. It's about taking that shot over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's about making what you do habitual and continuing to do it, because actually you don't know at which point in time. And for me, and I'm sure that the same can be said for yourself, there's been times where trying to promote a book or a radio show or a podcast that I know somebody who I've spoken to has got a message that could help hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have, whether they've served in the forces or whether they're just somebody that's going through a bit of a rough time. When I speak to people and we put that out there, there are times when I know how powerful these things can be, and yet I look at numbers and I go, oh, it's not getting to as many people as I would think. And but doing it over and over again and continuing to do it. So whilst the JFDI podcast, for example, or the radio show, great examples here. There's over 50 guests on the podcast. There's been times during that run, and particularly over the last few months, where you've kind of got where I've gone, what's the point? Who cares? Back into the realms of, is anybody really bothered about this? And the reality of what I know, because so get out of here and look at numbers, look at engagement. It's like actually making those things habitual, continuing to do the things that you know that work when you don't want to do them, is quite often the time that you are that close to a breakthrough, but that you will never make if you just throw it all in the bin. Because
absolutely. So a good example, okay, is a couple of weeks ago I went back out trading at Shorts Bar in Brighton. Not one person came to see me, not one. And I was like, Jesus, is this going to be the way it is now? And then I thought about it, and I thought, actually, sometimes you've got to let things go a little, and it's no one's fault. Everyone's got challenges going on at the moment, and it's like, right, okay, call to arms, JFDI, take a shot. What are you going to do? So, right, okay, I'll go and do what I do and I love, and I hope people enjoy it just as much as I do who are on the receiving end of it. I'll go and do it somewhere else for a while. And then the opportunity for my 9-to-5 job, which is this kind of taking the shot and things are open. It was an old work colleague, a boss of mine. She sent me some information about something, and I just phoned her up to say thank you. And then we got talking, and she was like, I've seen what you're doing out there with your clothing, your front of house. I've got a customer service role. It's quite a bespoke one, actually. It's a VIP service. I think you'd be great for it. Do you want the job? I'd employ you any day, because I know you're looking for work, because I can see you working with the NHS as well. I was like, I'm going to take the shot. And very different, and I think this is about the mindset piece. So yesterday, what I was doing, I was taking all of these out of my wardrobe, or most of them. I was putting my suits and my smart trousers and smart shoes back in my wardrobe after 3 years. And it was like, this could have been a really depressing moment for me. It was like, actually, I'm really looking forward to this, because I'm now in the mindset of taking the shot, giving it a go. Where before I would like, I'm not good enough. I'd been institutionalized in a particular role in a particular organisation for, not far off 20 years, I suppose. But taking the shot brings you out yourself a little bit as well. Do you know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. I've got two perfect examples as well, and you're right. Where I think even last year, if you look at had that conversation that you'd had taken place 6 months ago, you might have felt very differently about it.
I did.
And I guess that's resonant of like where we're at that point in time. Yeah, I can think of two very good examples just recently where at the beginning, almost, I ran a couple of Wim Hof workshops in West Lothian the back end of last year. They were great. The numbers are small because of the location. We can only have half a dozen people. And then a guy, my coach that I've been working with for a couple of years now, he said to me at the back end of last year, he said, let's run an event together in Richmond. The numbers would be more. Between the two of us, there were 12 people on that day where we did all of the Wim Hof stuff. It was amazing. However, at the beginning of that, I was a little bit. I think I was less convinced that I would be able to carry it off than he was. He had more faith in me than I had in myself. But we did it, and it was amazing. And then, literally at the same time that was happening, I had a message from another friend who said to me, "Listen, I'm starting off an initiative called Fight Club. It's not actually about fighting physically. It's not about boxing or anything. However, the terminology resonated with me, and it was about what will we fight for." And this is where my eyes opened up. I think another part of my brain was engaged because it was an offer made to me by a friend who said, "Listen, I know that things might not be. Since November, my mood has been down, my energy's been a little bit low. I don't mind saying that. Basically, I had a flare up on my skin across my body. It's why I've not been doing the lives." I say to people that listen, at the worst of it, it looked my face under my eyes looked like I had extra scrotum under my face looked like a big scrotum.
You've got away with it. You really have.
It's the best way to describe it.
Ball bags.
Ball bags for eyes. And this kind of kicked off around November. It affected my mental health, and it was it's like a psoriasis thing. My skin was red, skin was flaky, but it wasn't just my face; it was all over my arms and all of the bits and it was brought on by stress. So I don't make any bones about this. The last time, ironically, that I had a flare up was before I left the job that we've spoken about. So it was all stress related, and we don't need to go into what that stress was caused by. But I mean, people can use their imagination. People are in the exact same position at the moment. We've got when we look at the news. Now, this is important. One of the things that perhaps I was doing more of was this idea of our environment. When you look at what's happening in the news, and it's chat about war, it's chat about cost of living crisis, and more recently it's like natural disasters, and then we bring that home to maybe how we perceive the success or thereof of what we're doing personally, and then you throw the work stuff that I had taken on myself. And then there were a couple of other personal things that happened that it was like I was spinning all of these plates, and I had kind of found a good balance in spinning them. And then something came that was it was like the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will.
Yeah.
And that for me kind of set, it was a bit of not go down the rabbit hole, because I think physically I wasn't great. Mentally, I've been an awful lot worse. However, the one thing that I've realised from a video that I did the other day, and people said to me, "You look really tired." The reason that I did the video at the time I did it was because I thought I was on the mend. I thought I was looking better. And if my friends are saying to me, "You're still looking tired," I think to myself, how bad must it have been like a month ago? So it's things like that. But the opportunity from somebody to get involved in something called Fight Club, I'll come back to it. This was about doing something to help people in our communities. And that this opportunity, the guy said to me, I know that you might not be in the best of places, but actually it was exactly what I needed, because what it meant was that I had to put my focus squarely externally. And I think that it's one of the best things that we can do as people is that when we have, if we get caught up in what's happening with ourselves and it causes us to be mentally drained, one of the best things that we can do is focus on our physical aspects. So, how much are we sleeping? How much are we hydrating our body? How much are we exercising? Are we eating all of the right things? Are we having cold showers? But at the same time, if we are mentally focusing on ourselves, it can do us a lot of good to put some focus on helping other people. And so
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
that's
Brilliant.
so
The thing that I find interesting is the previous um, point we talked about self-validation. Did you feel validated when you were given that opportunity to involve yourself with Fight Club? Did that hit something that went, do you know what? Thank you. That means a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, it was like a big. I was humbled, actually, if I'm honest, because the first thing that I thought was, why are you coming to me? And then I thought, well, you're obviously coming to me for a reason. And at the same time, he had already given me an out and said, I know that things might be a little bit too much for you, but and therefore, and what he had said was, big shout out to Russ Facey, who is a man, and a lot of people watching this might not know who he is, but he's a guy who's kind of part of one of my coaching groups called the Better Man, run by
Hmm.
Alex Myers. And when Russ got in touch with me, he had given me an out and said, you might not be in the right place for this, but this is what it would entail, and this is what the expectations from me are. So right from the off, he'd said, if you want to be involved in it, there are certain things that you need to commit to. And actually, as it turned out, that's exactly what I needed. And in the last couple of weeks, what it's meant was, and I'm not going to say too much about it because it's about me being able to help vulnerable people within my immediate physical community, which really excites me, using some of the skills that I've built up over the last few years. So I've had meetings with like my local councillor. I've had meetings
Wow.
with a lady who's responsible for the sort of regeneration project within our area, and a lot of that focus is on in regeneration, not just in terms of the physical landscape of the community, but how people are dealing with life, and people, helping people with their mental health. So I'm going to try and do what I can do there,
Wow.
and that's exciting. But that might not have happened, and I could have quite easily just said no, I'm not up for it. But
Uh, and
I had to take my own medicine, and I had to JFDI, and actually what it's
yeah,
meant is I've had to step outside of my own comfort zone, and as somebody who says, well, this is what we need to do, step outside your comfort zone. Actually, I found that going to speak to my local councillor was a little bit of a venture into the unknown for me.
mm,
Uh,
mate, that's incredible. And the word that I'm, and what I've just seen is excited, excited. Now,
yeah,
I think it's just amazing that. So I expect you can do this just the same. I can track this back to 2016 when you took the shot to leave your employer. You
yeah,
took that shot, and these years down the line, you've got something that excites you.
yeah. And I think it's that's important, because for me, when we talk about things that excite us, it's not just the going out and getting and partying with the guys and getting full of the booze. That right. So I'll be very clear on this. What used to excite me in the past, I was always somebody, and it's taken a lot of soul searching and a lot of deep work from myself. I was always the person that searched for the highs. I would always go out and looking for the highs, and I mean that quite literally in terms of substances that I would put in my body to get highs, experiences to get highs. I would always searching for the extreme. But what I learned along the way is that, well, the higher you go, the
The
lower
lower
you
you
have to
go.
go as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
to plummet. So I think it's been about finding this balance, and as much as I have wanted from day dot to connect people and to help people, the one thing that I was never very good at, and Vicky has just hit the nail on the head, she said, not to the detriment of your own health, look after yourself too. Now, for me, that's what I've been doing over the last 4 months. It's why there's not been a JFDI podcast. It's why
yeah,
the radio shows have been less frequent. It's because I've had to take time to
yes,
rest
yes.
and to regain my energy, because I am very aware that when I'm healthy, when I'm fit, and my energy levels are up here, that's when I can have an impact. And
Uh,
that's in actual fact, the better equipped I am to deal with these things, we both know the better, the more mentally and physically fit we are in our own life, that has an impact on everybody else around us as well. And if you're not,
so
if it,
important. So
yeah,
important. Be the best version of yourself, not just for yourself, but for others. And I
yeah,
also, I think as well, you know, because we're quite open and we talk about all this kind of mental attitude and all of that. And we've both had pretty tough starts to 2023, to be fair.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you don't go on this journey and like everything's going to be a bed of roses. Yeah, it's not about that. Because when you do get a bump in the road, it's like, which is life in general, it's like, how do you tackle that? What have you got
yeah,
in your tank that you can just go, do you know what? I can do this. Do I need to confirm it? Have I done
yeah,
something in the past? Yeah, I've done that. Okay, I'll do that again because I've now proved it to myself. The problem is, if you don't actually open that door, you'll never find your true potential to deal with,
yeah,
some of the things that you might have to do with. For other people, it's a walk in the park. Shrug it off. But I think people like you and myself, I think, we have anxiety challenges and stress. Um,
yeah.
you have to approach it maybe in a different way and experience things that are going to help you to cope with that.
Yes,
As
absolutely.
like the
One of the,
journey, not the destination. It's
yeah,
whatever we do, we're talking quite openly. It's not to fix anything,
no,
and make it all a bed of roses forever. It's not about that. And I just hope if anyone is going to kind of pick up and go, do you know what? I've found a little nugget here. Don't want to send them down the wrong hole. That this is going to be the plaster that fixes everything. It's just gives you coping mechanisms when things go wrong.
yeah,
So actually, it
yeah.
becomes easier.
One of the comments on the video that I did the other day from one of my poet pals, a gentleman called Fraser McKechnie, he said,
That's a great
um,
name, by the way.
"That's a great Scottish name, isn't it? A great Scottish name." And by the way, he is the only poet that I have met in my journey into the arts. And I've met some really talented poets along the way, and this guy, he's the only person that I know that's not like a professional out there doing this thing, for their job, who basically gets up and he just starts from wherever he is at that point in time. He is completely present. He plucks something from his head, and then he will monologue there and then. And the number of times that I asked him, "Whereabouts are your poems written down?" He says, "I don't have any of them written down." He's so talented. But anyway, one of the things that I was going to say, he wrote on my post the other day, on my video, he said, "People who are constantly happy in their life are not even scratching the surface." And I think that this is a very important thing here, is that one of the things that you and I have both done in the last few years is gone certainly a lot deeper than scratching the surface. Not only have we put ourselves out there, but we've challenged ourselves, we've pushed ourselves, And with that, like you said, the beginning of 2023 has not been easy for either of us, but I just want to clarify for anybody listening that I ended up there as a result of the things that I had done in 2022. So I'm not looking for any sympathy from anybody. The reason that I got to where I got, and actually some of the personal stuff that had happened, was because I was diving kind of quite deep inside, resonated a lot with this Fight Club idea, because basically that whole ideology, that whole idea had kind of come down to me asking some questions about myself, which were, who are you? What do you stand for? What is the most important things to you in your life? What are your highest priorities? What kind of things are you not willing to stand for, as in seeing happening in the community? How do you want to be recognised? And how will you continue to put yourself out there and make a difference? And what does that mean in terms of who you are and who you need to be? And so the way I found myself in the position was because I had asked a lot of questions of who I was and what that meant. And some of the things that kind of drove me personally into a bit of a rabbit hole were, I guess, some expectations of the person that I was, but also some expectations that I had set of other people. And this is one of the big things, is that you can't control behaviours of other people. And that's been one of the massive things that I had to let go as well, was unmet expectations of other people's behaviours. And
Yeah,
that,
that's a huge one. That's
you
really
know,
big. You have to be
you
at
know,
peace with that, because
yeah,
that's gonna tear you up.
yeah. Yeah, and it kind of came about because I had done a real deep dive. A couple of things had happened, which resulted in me dredging up a whole lot of things from the past, which, ironically, I have to say, I make absolutely, it is absolutely the right thing for me to do, because getting these things out, as much as it wasn't pretty, um, I think that it's something that a lot of people do not do. They will go to their dying day and they will still have stuff that's suppressed deep inside them that could have helped them live much happier lives, where they just prepared to be a little bit more open and honest with their feelings. And that's part of the problem for me, is that there are still a lot of people, because of how they were brought up, where they were brought up, when they were brought up, who they were brought up by, and what they've been given as this blueprint for life, is that they don't talk about feelings because that's not strong, that's weak. And that, to me, is bullshit.
Gonna have to let that go, though.
Exactly, absolutely, absolutely.
That's for
But
others to sort it out for themselves. It's not
yeah,
your responsibility.
no, no. But I guess what I'm saying here is that what I've been able to do is I've been able to look at a lot of things that were some expectations that I had set, and I've just
Yeah,
and I've let them go,
yeah,
let them go, and kind
yeah,
of,
yeah,
and made peace with it.
yeah.
And I think that is, there's something quite cathartic about that.
Massively.
And I would say
Right.
anybody that's holding on to, the thing is, some people will be holding on to things and they don't even know it. And you can hear it in conversations with people where it's like, ooh,
Ooh.
you know. For me, ultimately, do you know what's helped?
Go on.
I'll be honest, is I heard. So it was a retreat, if you will. I had a week away in Richmond a couple of weeks ago, and it was I had the ability to step back from my day to day. I did a lot of reading, I did a lot of meditation, I did some cold dips, a lot of stretching,
Yeah,
ate good food, and hung around good people, like-minded people. Um, and one of the things that was said to me during that week was this, and it's in and around the meditation. Thinking is overrated, is what this very wise fellow said to me. And I think that without overthinking that, thinking is overrated. What he meant was, If you think about things too much and too deeply, then you can find yourself either in the past or you can find yourself in the future. If you're overthinking things and you're looking to the past, we know that's where depression comes from. When you're looking at the past and you're unable to let go of it, that's where we can find ourselves down a rabbit hole of depression. When we're looking too far to the future and becoming overwhelmed or anxious, we know that that in itself comes with a whole raft of challenges as well. So actually grounding yourself, being happy, being grateful for the life that we have, and without looking too far into our past or into our future, and being as present in each moment as we can, there is something very, very cathartic, enlightening, eye-opening, and just bringing you more to peace as well. I find it's the more that I can be right here and not thinking too much about things that I've done, said, or where I've gone wrong in the past, or what might, should, would, or any preconceptions of what the future should hold. Actually, there's only one moment that we have in life, and that's now.
Yeah.
So the more that we can live in this moment, the better. And that brings us right back to something that you and I have spoken about at length over the years, which is that mindfulness aspect. It's that aspect of being able to be in this moment, to be able to listen more, to engage with people without judgment, and I think that's important.
I think what you said about mindfulness is something that we kind of left behind a little bit. But I think when we were going through our challenges pre-lockdown for you and I, and we talked about mindfulness, and you went deeper into that, but my mindfulness practice certainly helped. I think people probably when they had a bit more time on their hands as well, which for me would be the lockdowns, that kind of period in time. But now everyone's got back on the treadmill of life and everything. That then becomes something harder to do. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel from looking around, speaking with people, and what we said about our starts to the year, there's more people I'm aware of now that have also gone, do you know what? The start to the year has not been great. It's been a bit rubbish, to be honest with you. And it's this is the right time for mindfulness to be talked about again, because there's a lot going on, either individually or around us, or what we see on the news. It all plays its part in affecting us. So to bring that into the conversation, and once again, it's that thing. It's like you don't do mindfulness for like a year or two, and everything's fixed. You have to do these things, what they are, because things will change, and it's not going to be that bed of roses that you're now celebrating and wanting everyone to know about. You're back in your corner again, trying to get out of it. How do you do that? And that's one of the things that you can possibly look at doing. But some people, that might be the take a shot at doing mindfulness moment, and if they don't, that's cool, it's not the thing. But if you do, go down that path, see what happens. I think you'll surprise yourself.
It's like you say, it's easier said than done. I think we've touched on it. When we look at what's going on in the world, it's very, very easy to get sucked into looking at things that are in the news every single day, and it's very, very easy. I've had conversations with people who, at the start of this whole Russia-Ukraine war, were worried about what that meant for us, and when we might just be obliterated off the face of the planet. When you consider the things that we've got no control over, that's just one thing. You could go down an absolute rabbit hole worrying about things that are going on in the world when you've got no control over them. Bring it much closer to home, and you've now got a cost of living crisis where people don't really have much control over the ever increasing, utility bills, cost of food, cost of living, and whether or not for some people, and maybe not, I don't know this, and so I can only surmise on basically what I've seen. Perhaps not within, a majority of our social circle, but I don't know, because I know that people are proud, and that there are going to be a lot of people that are massively suffering financially as well, that don't know, when they're going to see, some clearance, some headspace, some flexibility in kind of how they live their life. So I guess where you bring the mindfulness into that is it's about kind of coming back to that, well, deal with the things that you have control over in your own life, and try, and it's not easy, but it's try to let go of the things that you don't have any control over.
I think they call it the circle of influence.
They do, yeah. So massive one. How are you feeling time wise? We've hit an hour and a half, and I need a pee.
So do I.
Want
a cup of coffee.
But do you know what? I kind of feel that we're maybe not quite finished. How would people feel about us just leaving this stream and having a couple of minutes and coming back in 2 seconds? Do you know what I could do? What I could do, Ali, is I could actually put a banner up.
Gone to the toilet. Back in a minute.
And I could just say, yeah, look. Back in 5 mins. Gone for a pee. No, I
this would never happen on a professional setup at all, and this is why I love it. This is real stuff. Gone to the toilet. Back in a minute.
There we go. Can we see that? It says back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Right. Okay. I'll see you in 5.
Right.
I'm going to mute this just in case I. In fact, do you know what I'm going to do? Watch this. Right. Here's what we're going to do.
Perfect timing.
That was that was actually just sitting on the record deck. That wasn't intentional. That was just what happened.
Serendipitous.
Yeah, that was from. It's a nice bit of white vinyl as well.
Ooh.
So we know that'll be on the show. Right. Okay. Are you suitably
Yeah,
replenished?
I've replenished and I've got replenishment.
Yeah. So an hour and a half. I know I need to go and make sure that my daughter is out of her bed soon, because if it's mother, well, she's 16.
Yeah.
And if I don't go wake her up, then Karen might not have a proper Mother's Day. I went down to see my mother on Friday. Had a chat with her. I'll let people decide themselves whether or not. Oh, Karen's now making faces. She's watching us.
Need to wrap it up, mate.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. However, there is the reason that I said just let's take a quick break, because there was one thing that or one or two things that I did want to ask you in terms of the. So I just thought of another song. I actually played it on last week's show, but there's a song by a band called the Lathams at the moment called "Struggle," and the line in it, right at the start, it talks a little bit about what has happened, where we're at, and where we go from here. And in terms of today, we've spoken quite a bit about where we've been. I guess the importance of kind of looking back, I think, which has been both surprising, enlightening, and eye-opening for both of us when we look back over that 5 years and look at the things that have transpired, what's been achieved in terms of for ourselves personally, but both the knock-on effect and how that's kind of helped communities grow. But the one thing that we've not touched on then is just we spoke a little bit about your venture into the physical world within a shop in Croatia, but we've not talked too much about what comes next for both of us in terms of, like, you know, where we put our intentions, our attention goes, you know, and all that jazz. So what kind of is coming next? Because I'm sure people are interested. So, from your perspective, we know what we've done to get us to where we're at now. What does the next few months hold for you personally?
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about something else then, about Dorset, but we'll come on to that quickly in a minute.
Well,
what does that mean?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Being proactive
Yes.
with whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
My 9 to 5 is really important. And the work that I do that's not clothing, because I put that shout out on my Facebook about, I think I'm going to have to fold, guys. I don't know, but what do you think? Yeah, and it was pretty astounding, really, the amount of, like, you know, if you can, keep going. You know, don't do it to the detriment of your health or your family. So it's like, well, how can I balance all of this? And one of the things was, how can I fund if the sales drop? You know, because there's only a certain amount of money, and it's not a lot. But you know, you cost of living, all that. That's where that'll have to go. So it was like, right, okay, I need to find something that I can support. You know, the house, us, myself, And so that 9 to 5 is really, really important for me, and the other work that I do, cleaning at the NHS. And that will be the balance. The outcome of that will be that my physical trading goes down to 1 day a week, or maybe a couple of Saturdays a month. So yeah, that's what's going to be happening in the next couple of months. So I will still continue. I've got stuff coming out that's on pre-order. I'm doing pop-ups in various different places with various different organisations and people. So I'm keeping it going, which is a big thing, because I've kind of been encouraged to do that, and I want to be able to do that, but I have to be realistic. There's, I put something out the other day. Oh yeah, it was on my personal Facebook thing about. I was quite open and honest, and I said, I don't have a sustainable business full time, and for all the good intentions in the world, good intentions don't make a sustainable business. So, but there are good intentions, and so I want to honour those good intentions by just doing what people have come to expect and what I enjoy, and hopefully what they enjoy as well. But realistically, I'm swapping back over now into the clothing is going to be a more elevated side hustle than what it was when I was still in the corporate world. But I've let go of the, this is going to be my be all and end all, and I'm happy with that. I'm at peace with that. But I want to talk about Dorset. This is one of the reasons that I was so excited to talk about us, because I don't think anyone knows about this other than you, I, and a couple of other people.
No, and I think it's not only perfect timing, but it's a perfect example of what can happen. It's a perfect example of when consistency, taking the shot, applying your JFDI, call it what you will. It's a perfect example of when you just keep going, regardless, and having that consistency, that being in the right place at the right time. This is where applying your JFDI can sometimes be potentially seen as a number of coincidences, being in the right place at the right time and it being luck. But I a great believer of what Ali's about to tell you has not come about out of luck. It's come about out of hard work, out of people gaining the right, I guess, connections, experiences, skill sets, mindsets, and all coming to fruition. So, Ali, I'll let you tell the story.
And it's friendship as well. It's
friendship, and community. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I go back to when we first met at RAF Buchan, and what I'm about to explain is if we'd sat down and go, do you know what? In 30 years' time, or however long it is, we're going to be doing what we're going to be doing this summer. Be like, what? And the only reason we've been able to be able to do this and be excited together about it is that actually everything that you've just talked about.
Yeah. So tell the good people of this. Do you know what? They've been. Well, before we wrap up, we'll just shout out to everybody that's been watching. But I just want to call out one of Pete's comments. He said this. Pete Turkerman said, "This is what Sunday morning church should be like." I love that, Pete. I'm not sure what many people would think about having Ali or myself as preachers. But anyway, there you go. So, Ali, tell the good people what is happening in terms of us getting to come together and actually collaborate in person, and tell them how it came about, because this is exciting stuff.
This is incredible just to think about how we've ended up being able to do this, considering how far apart we live from each other. And obviously for many, many years we didn't have any contact. So last year I was very, very lucky to be asked to go and trade at a festival in Dorset, and it's not one of these massive big ones. It's about 500 people. It's like a really, really beautiful, funky, entertaining, everything for everybody wedding reception, really, just like a boutique festival, in my opinion, should be. Really, everyone gets to hang out and be with each other, and it's just good vibes. So anyway, I was quite invested in all of that, because I came away from it going, do you know what? This is such a beautiful thing. I just want more people to know about it. So I formed a relationship with the guys that are putting it all together. We all get on. We're all coming from the same place, and then they announced their dates for the year, and I just thought, let's get Graham there. Let's get a bit of Wim Hof cold water breathing, cold water exposure going on. And so you've met up with them. They speak very highly of you. And what's going to happen is you're going to come to Dorset with me. We're going to spend Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and leave on Monday. You're going to hopefully stay with us a day or two before and a day or two after, if that can be arranged. And we're going to get to hang out like old friends, doing the things that we never thought we would be doing when we were 20 years old, let alone seeing each other in a beautiful, it's an absolutely stunning location in Dorset. And Larry Holmes will be there, Nick's coming, because Larry came last year, and I just wanted to come back and tell Nick what a great thing it was. And she's getting involved. She's going to be doing some food offerings. She's not yet gone in the sea or in a cold water tank to be able to help you with your setup. But I'm sure she could do meet and greet quite well. But it's just like an amazing coincidence. But I just think, aside from what we're going to get from that as mates, I just think it's a great example. If you just put yourself out there and go, do you know what? I just don't really know what the outcome of this is going to be, but I'm putting myself out there. I'm taking the shot. I'm JFDIing it. I'm giving it a go. These things kind of happen.
They do.
And
they do. And I think that we can look at it from that perspective of this was exactly what was supposed to happen. For us at exactly this point in time. And I think that it's the one thing that we've not touched on as well. I think that when I look at all of these little sequence of events, when I look at the opportunities that we've had to talk to kind of do what we're doing, I think it makes me realise, again, I touched on, when perhaps you're trying to deal with stuff on your own, that putting your focus on other people, this is where, for me, this becomes really important, because I'm super excited about Camp Bliss in terms of making new relationships, about coming and hanging out with yourself, but also being able to take that knowledge, that new sort of skill set that I've developed over the last few years, and showing people how they can integrate that cold water and breath work into their own life, and help them be sort of stronger, happier and healthier. That for me is absolutely amazing. But I'm with you. The fact that I get to come and spend some time with you, Nick, and then go down to Camp Bliss and then meet a whole load of wonderful new friends that I've not already met, to spread that word, to be part of that community, and then to spend more time with you, just to hang out, it's going to be amazing. And like you say, if you'd have said to the guys that were sitting outside, what block was it? Gannett block, Orkney block. If you remember, if you'd have said to those two guys sitting outside, on perhaps necking some scrumpy
and
buckfast, that this is where they might be working together 30 years down the line. I think it's
incredible, mate.
It is. Also a great example of how things like geography need never get in the way. And yes, technology has helped us out massively, But actually, when you put your mind to it, if it's something that you are passionate about, I don't think that there's any limit on what can't be achieved. So I don't know. Perhaps we've said some stuff that people might resonate with people today. I hope so. We didn't want to come on and talk about Force Forward or about radio shows or books or clothing in an enormous amount of detail. You see us doing that. This was about mindset. This was about JFTI.
Yeah,
But it was
they're
about
just
more
the
than that.
platforms.
Exactly.
They're the platforms that we get to practice this on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. We've had.
yeah.
Should we before we wrap it up? What have you got anything else to add? Because there's lots of comments that I'd like to read a few out.
Oh my God.
Uh,
I just think, the thing for us is that we talked about is when we've done these things before, we had something to present to people, which
yeah,
was, and some people, quite rightly so, will look at that as like it's a business opportunity, force forward, trying to monetize that, me launching a clothing business. I think we've both got to a point where we've just gone, do you know what? It hasn't ended up how we would have wanted it, but what we want to be able to do is just to kind of hopefully come across in a way that says, do you know what? If you do embark on a journey of, discovery, take a few risks, it might not turn out the way that you wanted it to. It's just saying, look, there's all of these other things that you can take out of that whole period that actually just gives you that kind of, I don't know, it just helps you carry on. Yeah. And who knows where that will end up. We've ended up going to Dorset together, hanging out, bit of dancing, eating some great food, meeting loads of lovely people, families, older people, the whole shebang. We're going to have a beautiful time. It's probably this down, but no, it won't. And we get to do these things because we've done what we've talked about today. And we
yeah,
don't expect anyone who goes on a journey, I'm going to end up at a festival with my mates from 30 years ago. But you might just do something where you look back and go, do you know what? If you had said that I'd be doing that 20, 30 years ago,
yeah,
I would have laughed at you, and I'm getting to do it, and I really, really am excited about it. So, how do I get excited about other things as well?
yes,
Bang! It's your mental attitude. Opens the doors, enjoy it. And,
yeah,
things ain't going to work out along the way, but it's how you deal with them. Really important. I'll shut up.
yeah. Absolutely.
What,
Listen,
what,
you've completely nailed it. You've nailed it there. And the thing that I would add is simply to say to people, watch yourself. Be aware of your mannerisms. Be aware of your energy levels. Watch the things that you're talking about and how your energy comes across. Because when you're passionate, when your energy levels are high, you will predominantly be talking about the things that fill you with fire, that really empower you. And look at those energy levels, because if you spend a lot of time talking about things that you're not so passionate about, I think you've hit the nail on the head, Ali. We get to do these things because of the direction that we've taken, and it's never too late to change direction. Never, never. If you're not happy with what you're doing in any way, shape, or form, regardless of how you feel, because feelings are important, you can use them to your advantage, but they can also come back and backfire and be, if you end up down that rabbit hole, they can end up haunting you. So be very, very careful about feelings. But everybody can make change at any point in their life. You just have to be willing to do that. Step out of your comfort zone.
and you will get plenty of opportunities where you can do that. It's just being aware. And if you choose not to, that's fine. We're not trying to force anyone to, go down a particular route that we've gone down. It's just be aware that you do get these opportunities, like fork in the road moments, and you do have a choice. It's
Yeah.
just recognizing those opportunities when they come, and then make the decision that you want to make. And whatever way you go, it's brilliant. It's up to you. It's your thing. It's not. Don't copy us, because we're a bit different.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, yeah. But we've always been that way. But yeah,
Okay.
it happens to everyone. You get a
Yeah.
choice. Take it, whichever way you go. It's cool.
So, would you like to introduce the song that is going to follow this on the radio show?
God, I haven't really thought about that. I tell you what.
Throw some. Yeah, go on. Hit us with it.
I've got one. It's on Massive Attack's second album. I think it's second album, and it's the one they did with Horace Andy, and I absolutely love it. It's called Light My Fire. It's their version, and I'm thinking it's like, how do you light your fire? And I think what we've done over the last, oh my God, 2 hours is we've lit our fires. Hopefully we'll light some other people's as well.
Fantastic.
If the fires are to be lit, that is. We don't expect them to be, but if you've got a fire and you want to light it, enjoy the tune.
Brilliant.
Peace.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you so much. Listen, you know we could be on here all day.
We could do. We should do an all-dayer.
Well, do you know what? Perhaps that some of the people that are willing audiences. Let's just have a shout out to Mr. Tuckerman, who says it was Tyree Block. Nice one, Pete.
Bless you, Peter. Lovely long bloke.
Yes, indeed. Karen is always watching. Mr. Fairclough has been on as well. Said that resonates across the world. Well said, Graham and Ali. Cass, you spelt my name wrong after 30 years, and you're still spelling my name wrong. Unacceptable.
Cass is a prime example of someone I've known from day one that gives things a go.
Yes, he does. Yes, you're absolutely
right. If you want to copy anyone, copy him.
Yeah. I think that for me, Cass, you are the epitome of knowledge being an ongoing process in life. You're the person that I think that I have seen more than anybody I know who has continued to enhance their knowledge, their skill sets, and at certain points in life when you've been less happy with the direction that's taken you, and you've changed, you've increased your skill sets, and you've gone out and you're always learning, always learning.
Very humble man as well.
Yes. Big shout out to Mr. Fairclough there. And do you know what? Same can be said for Pete there as well. Same kind of journey.
Yes, doing his business.
New business, learning your new stuff. Fantastic. Who else do we need to shout out today? We had Vicky joined us. Morning, Vicky.
Hi, Vicky.
David Kinnaird as well. Good morning, sir. Jamie and Skip. Mr. Blades, Haley. And let the final word go to Mr. Kelly Phillips, who said simply in his comment, in fact, I don't know if I can pull it up. Yes, I can. Look at that. What a good way to close this morning's Sunday service.
What?
Kelly said, dwelling on the past holds up your future.
Quite right.
Yes, dwelling on the past does hold up your future. We need to all find ways of letting go of our past. Embracing the parts of that made us who that we are, but letting go of the parts that no longer serve us. Simple. I think, Alistair, thank you for your time.
Graham, thank you for yours. And everyone and everyone else, thank you. And
indeed.
Anyone that sees this afterwards, thank you too.
Yeah, let us know what your thoughts are, and who knows, we might have more Sunday service, but then who knows, the JFDI podcast might be back at some point soon. Never say never, right? Right, JFDI out from this Sunday. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Yeah.
Speak soon. Bye, mate.